Are you looking for some free science fiction and fantasy books to get you through this holiday weekend? We've got them. And the top book is the perfect Memorial Day weekend present for anyone who's a Douglas Adams fan, because this book totally gets the Hitchhiker's vibe. But before we get to that, hi everybody, welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel. My name is Maria KOROLOV. I'm the editor here at MetaStellar, and I want to thank editors E.S. Foster and Terrence Smith for helping me out today with the reviews. Unfortunately, neither of them could make it to this taping today. So every Friday, the team here at MetaStellar, which is an online science fiction and fantasy magazine, reads the first few chapters of every book on Amazon's top 5 free science fiction and fantasy bestseller list. The links to the article and to all the books is below, and we share it with you. All right, let's get into it. Book number 5 on today's list, because we're counting down, is Evil Arises by E.R. Stateham. And this is the first of 3 books in the Roland of the High Crags, an epic fantasy series. The other books are $4 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want. So if you're a big Amazon fan, it's a really good deal. Terrence Smith that read this for us, and he says that this is for people who like World of Warcraft and Skyrim because it's got dragons and warrior factions and magic and ancient evils and prophecies, pretty much everything you want in the book. He says this particular story is told from the perspective of Roland, a warrior and a wizard who belongs to a sacred order of warrior monks. And he's been imprisoned for decades by his order for not killing the harbinger of evil when he had the chance. Because this harbinger, this instrument of humanity's doom, was just a 7-year-old girl when he met her. She was a dragon girl and the daughter of the leader of a bloodthirsty clan. But the girl's grandfather asked Roland to protect her, believing that she will be essential to the future of both humans and dragons. And this reminded Terrence of the relationship between the Witcher and Cersei from the Witcher video games, or the series, or the books, or the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. He says that the appeal of the story is not how it will end, because Roland immediately tells the reader of the ending in the book's prologue. The mystery here is to see just how the young girl falls from her innocence to become a nearly unstoppable force of destruction, while Roland reflects on his decision not to kill her when he had the chance, because he could see an alternative path to save not just her, but the entire world as well. He says the story has him intrigued, and he might continue and stick with it. Next, we have book number 4 on today's top free sci-fi and fantasy bestseller list, Elemental Empire by Peter North. This is the first of 5 books in the Elemental Empire, a sword and sorcery series. The other books are $7 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. Plus, they're on sale today for 99 cents each. And this is the author's first time on our list, and the reviews from E.S. Foster. And Logan is the guy who just ended his shift at a restaurant. He's back home in his hometown because her mother is an addict, spiraling into an alcoholic episode, and he's come back home to help her out. So he's really not having a good time of it. And then his day gets even worse when he comes home and finds his mother dead on the living room couch. And he's about to call for help when he and his mother dissolve into sparkling lights and the entire world disappears, and he wakes up in a strange forest. At first, he thinks he's been drinking, but then he looks up and he sees 3 moons in the sky, and he's wandering around and gets lost, and the memories of the real world fade like a dream. And then he comes across 2 trolls and a dark, malevolent figure holding a nymph-like creature hostage. He follows them, comes to their camp, pulls a magic sword out of a tree at random, slaughters everyone at the camp and saves the nymph, and then it's like all action from there on. Logan needs to save the world from darkness and keep the beautiful creatures safe. So Emma says that she didn't really like Logan right from the start. His mother's an alcoholic, but instead of worrying about her, he only cares about a date with his longtime crush. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. He moved back to his hometown to take care of her, so maybe he's got some redeeming qualities. And then after landing in the fantasy world, he's upset that he missed his date, not that he just found his mother dead. Okay, I can see where Emma's going with that. That does sound a little weird. On top of that, once he sees this beautiful nymph, the only thing he can think about is saving her. So Emma says that the book kind of has the vibe of, the old men writing women trope. And he's just like obsessively focused on the female character's physical attributes and how he feels about them. So because of that, she's not planning on reading this to her reading list. Myself, I do read books like that if there's a good, fun kind of pace to them. But I'm old. I grew up when like all sci-fi was basically like that. So I'm kind of used to it. I might check it out. I've got a long plane flight ahead of me. I'm flying to Detroit this weekend and then back again. So I need reading material. So I've already got this downloaded on my phone. I'm all set. All right, next we have Burn by Joanna Morgan, the first of 3 books in the Elemental Warriors paranormal romance series, not to be confused with Elemental Empire, the previous book. Okay, so the other books here are $5 each, but they're both in Kindle Unlimited. And I read the beginning of this one, and you might know this if you've watched these before. I do not like books with naked guys on the cover. And the cover here, I don't know if you can make it out, but if you look close, it's a naked guy with hands around his chest, and the hands are like icy, and the guy's like burning and like is surrounded by flames. All right, so which pretty much tells you everything you need to know about this book. So Levi is a magical warrior, and he's an elemental, which means he controls elemental powers, in his case, fire. And his job is to track down humans with latent powers and drain those powers before the humans self-destruct and cause a giant disaster. And apparently there's a lot of disasters happening in the world right now because Levi and his pals aren't up to the job. I don't know. Then he's in this town and he's getting strange vibes, strange elemental energy. It's coming from a woman, but it feels different from when he normally finds a human with powers. And he's weirdly drawn to this woman, even though he's never seen her before. And I'm like, no, don't go there. It never ends well. I mean, yeah, they'll meet, live happily ever after and all that, but like I said, like that's not a good ending. Okay, then we switch to the woman's point of view. Her name is Brooke. She's a graphic designer for a small town newspaper, and she's walking through the town on her way to the post office. And then as she gets to the door, of this magnificent man holds the door open for her. He's gorgeous, he smells good, all the things. And she goes inside, and they have this little moment of like eye contact or something. But then he doesn't follow her inside, and she's a little disappointed. Then we switch back to Levi's point of view. He's also disappointed that he didn't follow her into the post office. So he like wanders around outside until she comes out, and then they awkwardly bump into each other and they flirt. And she asks him if he wants to go get coffee, but then duty calls, and the enemy is in town, an agent of chaos, and a human somewhere nearby is about to self-destruct. And he has to go find this human. He does not find a human in time. A building blows up, and it's the same building where Brooke just went into. And then more stuff happens. I'm not going to give away the plot. The pace is picking up. Will I stick with it? No. I do not like the fated mates trope, but I do have to say that the book is readable. The main characters are sympathetic. There seems to be a fun plot. And if you do like the fated mates kind of romance, you'll probably enjoy it, and I would recommend it to you. But it's not for me. Okay, next we go to Cast the First Stone by David James Warren, the first of 6 books in the True Lies of Rembrandt Stone, a time travel detective series. The other books are $5 each, but they're all in Kindle Unlimited. And I read the beginning of this one, and I love twisty-turny stories about hardboiled detective, and this one promises to have time travel to boot, so I'm in. The book... Okay. Sorry, that was my phone going off because I didn't turn it off before filming, proving that I am not an AI, but an actual human. Okay, so this book opens with our protagonist, Rembrandt, delivering bad news to his client. He's a former homicide inspector, and he's telling her that it's been over a month and they've got no leads. And then we find out that the client is 7 years old, his daughter, and the missing person that they have no leads on is a stuffed bear. And she really wants to get this bear, and it's the only thing she wants for her birthday because her birthday party is that day. So it's all cute and adorable, and despite his concerns that he's not going to be able to find this bear, he promises his daughter that he will find it anyway, and his wife rolls her eyes at him, and it's all very cute and adorable. And I'm really hoping that this isn't going to turn into one of those dark stories where the detective loses his adorable family right at the start of the book. So what happens, the premise here is that Rembrandt quit his job 3 years ago to write a book, but he's suffering from writer's block. 20 years prior, he had a New York Times bestseller based on his years as a rookie detective. So, and based on that bestseller, he decided to quit and write full time. And he's a little stuck. There's this party for his daughter. His old partner of 20 years shows up with a cardboard box that showed up at the station, and it's addressed to Rembrandt, and it's a box of cold case files from his old chief's estate. And the box also contains his old chief's watch. And the watch doesn't work, so the next day he takes it in for repairs. And we're at the 3rd chapter already. The book moves really, really slowly. This shop can't fix it. They refer him to someone else, like an hour's drive away. He gets in a car. His agent calls him, complaining about the lack of progress on the book and threatening to drop him. So, of course, instead of going home and back to work, Rembrandt goes on a drive, and he gets to this other repairman. And this new repairman also says he can't fix the watch because the watch is working perfectly. But it doesn't. The dial doesn't turn, the watch doesn't tell time, but the repair guy insists that it works and shuts the door on him. So Rembrandt goes back to his town, he goes to the gym. His old partner urges him to go back to work. Then he goes back home to have dinner with his wife and daughter, then up to his study, sits down at the computer, finally, stares at the blank screen. Then he opens up that box of cold cases to see if he can get some inspiration, has a drink, puts on that old watch, fiddles with it, and then something weird happens. He goes back in time into his old body on a day that's been giving him nightmares for years. It's the middle of one of his old cold cases, and he's living the day over again. So, love the premise. Love the pacing is a little slow for me, but I love the writing. I'm really enjoying it. It's pulling me in. Okay. Now all of this has been in the first person, and then now we switch back to the third person, to his wife's point of view. And again, this is back in time. She's young. She's new to her profession. She's a forensics person for the police department. And she's called to the crime scene and bumps into Rembrandt because this is also the day that they met. But this time, unlike the first time, Rembrandt does not spill coffee on her and ruin her camera. So it looks like the rules are here are the rules here of time travel is that you go back to your own body to a scene that you lived before, but you can change things. Which is good for a story, because otherwise you're just reliving your life again and you're seeing the mistakes coming at you and there's nothing you can do. I mean, that'd be awful. So anyway, I like the story very much. I love the premise of the detective being able to go back in time to solve his old cold cases. I'll be sticking with this one. It does move a little slowly, but that's fine. I'm fine with it. And I've got those plane rides ahead of me. So yes, I definitely have this book queued up, ready to be read. And before we go on to book number 1, I want to thank our Patreon supporters, Regina, Greg, Larina, Janet, Sophie, Marie, Alexander, Terrence, Brad, David, Anastasia, and Amira. We are all volunteers here at MetaStellar. There's a few dozen of us, editors and judges and everything else that we do. And we are able to publish hundreds of short stories a year thanks to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. We would not be able to do this without you. Thank you so much. The links to our Patreon page is in the description box below. Okay, let's get on to book number 1. And the title is Roy, the Most Chaotic Midlife Crisis in Cosmic History. And it's by Zachry Wheeler. And this is the first of 5 books in the Pookie Pocket Presents, a humorous sci-fi series. The other books are between $1 and $4 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited, but books 2 and 3 are free today. And the author has been on our Free Friday list before. So I'm a big fan of absurdist sci-fi authors like Douglas Adams. And when I saw this book cover, that's what I thought I'd be getting. A funny or satirical sci-fi romp. And I did. Okay, so I didn't see that it was by Zachry Wheeler until I opened the book, because his name is not on the cover, as you can see. Zachry Wheeler, if you don't recognize him, he's the author of Max and the Multiverse, which was on top of our Free Friday list last September. That book has over 1,000 positive reviews, and it's set in the same universe as Roy. You don't have to read Max and the Multiverse, but I suggest you do, because A, it's still free. B, it's very well reviewed. It's won awards. Excellent book, highly recommended. But I'm going to be sticking with Roy right now. I have not read that other one. One of our other reviewers did. So I'm going to be doing Roy. And this book is totally in the style of Douglas Adams. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Zachry Wheeler is, in fact, the Douglas Adams of today. Well, it's because I can't think of a single other author who's actually writing this type of book in sci-fi. So there's not a lot of competition for the title. But anyway, so the book is set on a space station, the biggest space station in the universe. And the Pookie Pocket, who's the narrator of the book and a sensible author, is the editor of a wiki about this space station. Zachry Wheeler introduces himself as the book's official translator here on Earth. So that's the kind of the conceit behind the book. And Pookie, the fictional author of this book, is a very active narrator and a very sarcastic and witty one. It's a fun read. So there's been a firefight in a popular brew pub on the space station, and there's damage all over the place. And Roy, the guy from the book's title, only goes by that one name, Roy, he's a plumber. He's there to repair a clogged fountain that is now full of soot and debris, and the filtering unit has given up. Roy is depressed and apathetic and resentful, and he's a little sorry to have missed all the action. And so if you just read that sentence, I mean, it doesn't sound like that much fun, but there was a lot there in that chapter of the narrator's snide language. There was foul banter between Roy and his coworkers, the very vivid descriptions of the space stations and its weirdly shaped residents, including Roy and his coworkers. All of them are weird alien creatures, even though they speak in modern American slang and have common American names. I guess the translator added that part to the story. So for example, here's how the wiki describes the pipes, a joint where Roy's going to go meet his friends after work. The establishment seems to exist solely to exacerbate a throbbing headache. Avoid at all costs. And then the narrator that admits that this review is a bit harsh, but it's not inaccurate. So that's kind of like the tone of the book. It's very funny. There's a bit of foul language, so I'm warning you about that. But it reminds me a lot of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I'm definitely sticking with it. So I want to thank everybody for sticking with me. Let me know in the comments if you plan to read any of these books, and if you did, what you thought. And if you don't want to miss any of these reviews, like and subscribe, or get them in your email by signing up for our newsletter. All the links below. Also, while you're leaving comments, I'm thinking of going without my glasses because of all the reflections from the lights. What do you think? Off? On? Anyway, if you don't want to leave our channel just yet, we're serializing Gods and Monsters, a vampire novel by award-winning artist and author E.E. King. And our interview with the author is here, and the recording of the author reading the first installment of the book is here. We're now up to installment 13 on both the website and on this YouTube channel. So subscribe if you don't want to miss a single episode. Thanks, everybody. I love you guys. Bye-bye.